Moms. My name is Bailey. I am a doula and a childbirth educator, and today I thought we would go over what you need in your postpartum care bin, kit, whatever you want to call it. Usually it lives in the bathroom. We're going to talk about all the goodies that you might want to prep early and a few extras as well, and what you might need to prepare. So let's go ahead and get started. We plan a lot when we find out we're pregnant. We plan the nursery, the baby essentials, we research you know, the type of births we want, we research who our childcare provider will be afterwards, we research who our doctor will be or our medical personnel. Depends what route you go. I'm an advocate of any birth that suits you best. So if that's in the hospital, home birth, if it's at a birth center, whatever fits you and your family's needs best. And I find that a lot of women plan and prep a lot of the things beforehand, but one of those things that kind of slips your mind or doesn't come until later on, or when you're really close to your due date, your estimated due date I should say, would be what to have in preparation for when you get home. First thing that we need to prep for is the fact that you grew an entire human being or are growing an entire human being, and the placenta that encapsulates baby and keeps everything, you know, really nice and tidy to your uterus, and it can be positioned a lot of different places inside your belly, but when it peels away, because you do have to pass the placenta after you pass the baby. Most of the time this is like not painful at all, and it comes out in one of your contractions post-birth, but what you're left with is a wound the size roughly of like a small dinner plate, like you see here. This is like a pretty good to scale version of what is inside your body. So it's kind of, think of it as a scab. It peels off and then you're left with this open wound. So of course wounds bleed, which is part of the reason you bleed after you have the baby. And if you have a cesarean, it's important to know that you still have this open wound inside your uterus that is going to have to heal. So be very gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself. You have undergone a large transformation in the last 10 months, and so it's important to take things really slow, but you have this wound inside. Now in the placenta, one side, the baby side, is very soft. It's very smooth, slippery, and then the side that was attached to your uterus is rough and it's got ridges in it, and that's like where it was inside. So you have baby, the placenta comes out, and now you have this wound. You're going to be bleeding for some time after the baby is born, and depending on the type of birth you have, how quick it went, how many children you have, vaginal or cesarean, there's so many little factors here, but we're going to talk about some overlapping care that it's important to have in your bin and ready to go. Typically you can find something to store this in that you already have in your house. You don't have to go out and buy a designated bin, but if you want to, I think that's fine too. So I had this little plastic storage tote. I actually had two, one in each bathroom, just because I wasn't sure where I would be, where I'd be resting and healing after we had the baby, and how far I would be willing to walk. So these are easy enough to wipe down, and I actually received this like in a gift with the baby shower stuff. So I didn't go out and buy one, but if you want to go and buy like a cute little woven one from Target or a dollar store, I would say go for it. Whatever makes you feel most prepared. So you have your bin, and then some things that you're going to need are, number one, you'll need some sort of absorbent pad or underwear, or both, depending on how much you bleed. And again, that can be a various factors can take into play. So if you go for the underwear, the only thing, and I really like these, the only thing I didn't like was that they're scented, and I didn't really want anything scented, but I had already purchased them. So they've got like kind of a flowery smell, which I'm not a huge fan of, but you can find some unscented. These are just the, basically think of like incontinence underwear. So you want something that's going to be pretty absorbent. And they're not the most glamorous, I will say. They are basically, they are like an adult diaper, but they will help keep everything keep everything in. And the high band is really important, at least for me. Postpartum, it was a lifesaver, and I know a lot of women that feel the same way. If you don't want to go the route of the absorbent underwear, and these are also nice because you can just throw them away once they've reached capacity. You're not having to go wash a bunch of undergarments after. But if you don't want to go that route and you're more comfortable with underwear than pads, by all means you can. You're just going to want the biggest ones you can find in most cases with the wings. So these are like the big boys, and you can see they've got like the double, it goes front and then the back is really high, and they also have the wings on the side. So something like this really comes in handy postpartum, and you want, you know, a couple of these. You can also stock with something more regular sized for later on, like towards the end when you're not bleeding as heavily. You're gonna want to go with some sort of pad if you don't go with the disposable underwear route, absorbent underwear for your kit. And then depending on how your birth went and how sore you are down there, you might be facing stitches, you might have some small lacerations, hopefully no tearing, but it does happen, it's quite common. So you might have some tearing, which would account for the stitches. Sometimes the tears are so small they won't stitch you up, but you're still really sore down there. So you can go ahead and pick up this dermablast pain, burn, and itch, like a numbing spray. You want to be very careful with this. You don't want to go too heavy-handed with it, but if you just give this little spritz to your downstairs area post-birth, when you're changing your pad, when you're changing your underwear after you're, you know, cleaning up after you're bleeding, it's really helpful, and it helps kind of soothe the area. It keeps it cool. It's almost like a numbing agent, but that's why you don't want to be too heavy-handed with it. You want to be careful with this. You just need a, you know, spritz or two if you decide to go this route. And I didn't use this every day, just when you're really tender, usually right after birth. This stuff is great. So go ahead and put that in the kit. Another option, and there's different variations of this, are the Tux cooling pads. People use these for hemorrhoids too. So if you have hemorrhoids in pregnancy, which is super common, you might already have this in your bathroom, but they're just little absorbent round pads. They've got witch hazel and other simple natural ingredients. You take your Tux pad, you could do 2 or 3, and you can just lay them on, kind of stack them on, and they're good to go. You can also, I've seen people make their own padsicles by doing this beforehand, and they'll do like witch hazel or Tux pads, roll the pad back up, store it in the freezer so it's all in one. If you don't have that much prep work, you can also buy the pre-made padsicles. This is from Mom. It's the Instant Ice Maxi Pad, and these were really a lifesaver. I liked that they were already good to go. All you do is like snap it, shake it, and it's this nice cooling pad for postpartum recovery. And these also come in Mom kits. So if you know someone who's about to give birth, this could be a great gift. This could be a great care package to drop off to the mama to be. So if you don't want to go for the witch hazel pads, you can also have like a pre-packaged ice pack. Those have been phenomenal. Also super easy. These aren't reusable. You snap it, you have it in until it's not cold anymore, and then you simply peel it up. And with these, you don't need a pad on top. This is the pad itself. So once you're done, you just dispose of it. Cooling foam. This is very similar ingredients to the Tux pad. It's got like witch hazel in it. Came with these perineal cooling pad liners. So the kits have a couple of different things in them. I think you can go buy all of these separately as well. This isn't like a sponsored video or anything. I really enjoyed the Mom kit, and I know a lot of women that I've gifted this to as a doula as well. You can also get, depending on how your birth went, you might prefer having some sort of support binder. This was gifted to me. I think most commonly the common thread I see is it's usually moms that have more than one child, like this is their second or third subsequent birth, that they prefer that feeling of having something really like tight, kind of holding everything back together after everything is shifted to abdominal area. Now this could shift. Personally, I didn't enjoy having anything tight and constricting on. After birth I wanted loose clothes. I wanted nothing touching my skin. I was very sore, and my stretch marks I felt were very sensitive. The skin had been through a lot, so I didn't enjoy this, but I know a lot of people that do, and I ended up wearing a binder, I think the 2nd or 3rd week postpartum for a short while, just when I felt like I needed that extra support. But this might be something to consider. One of the final things that I would highly recommend having in your postpartum care kit, alongside with all of these goodies, one thing you'll need is a peri bottle. You could have something a little bit more fancy like this. This one, you can see it's like at the angle, so you just hold it down and it sprays. You fill it with like warm water, not too hot, but warm water, and you use it when you're going to the restroom. Because remember, you might have some tears or rips, or just in general it's like very sore and raw in that area, and a peri bottle will help you dilute the pee so it's not so acidic feeling when they're going. Usually the hospital will provide it, or I went to a birth center, so the birth center provided something more basic like this, so I had two options. This one, I will say the slightly fancier option, if you find like this design, I found amazing because I didn't have to hold my arm at a weird angle, and this one really took care of everything for me. So a peri bottle, I would say, is one of your top friends postpartum as well. There are other things to consider for the rest of your body when you're healing. If you have a severe tear, depending on what degree you have torn, you might consider one of those inflatable pillows that they sell, is what the donuts that you sit on, especially if you have hemorrhoids in pregnancy. Again, you might already have that available to you. A hot pad is also really nice, not for your bits, but for your abdomen, for your back, for your upper back as well, your shoulders, because you're now learning to nurse or you're holding your baby and you're sitting inward, you're condensed down, and so it's nice to have something to soothe. These are all the things I would consider having in your postpartum care kit. You don't need to go crazy. You don't need to have everything under the sun and all the different options. For example, you probably don't need the Tux pads and the spray and the foam. If you're nervous about it and you're like, this is what makes me feel good, is I have all these options, go for it. This wasn't crazy expensive. You pick up 1 or 2 items like each time you go to the store, so it doesn't feel like this giant chunk of change. And then I'd also recommend asking when friends say, like, what can I do for you? What can I bring you? Be specific. I had asked one of my best friends, actually 2 of my best friends, very supportive, very sweet, after postpartum, were like, what can we bring you? They brought me lactation cookies. They also brought me, I said, I need more ice packs. I need more ice packs. And both of them were very kind. So I got some homemade padsicles, and I got a package of these delivered next day from the other friend. So it's just a nice thing to keep the tribe around you, the people who are going to support you postpartum. You can be direct and ask for those things that you need that you don't have. That's what people honestly want to help. They honestly want to be there. They want to make it easier for you. You're a new mother, a new parent, you're learning how to do this, there's a lot of different elements going on, so make sure that you're accepting the help when it's offered. So accepting help when it's offered, and take that time to really heal, bond with your baby, connect. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some ideas for your own postpartum care kit. I'd love to hear what you had, or what you wish you had even. Maybe you learned something the second time around that helped you that you wish you would have known. So let's help each other out here. Let's use this time and this space on the internet, this little slice we've created here, to talk about the good things that come along with motherhood. So if you want to go ahead and post a comment about the things that you wish you had known, or the things that you're glad that you had on hand. I'm very curious. As a doula, I get asked questions all the time about this from my expecting mamas. All the time. People want to know, well, what do I need? What do I not need? What can I get away with without having? So if you have the ability to help another mama to be, I would highly recommend it. Give us your tips and tricks. And remember, this is just advice. If you have, something that was your holy grail you absolutely had to have, and someone else didn't care for it, that's okay. Don't take it to heart. You have your way, they have theirs. 2 different mothers, 2 different situations, 2 different families. So just like I like to say to all my clients, your pregnancy is uniquely you. All right, that'll be all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.